The movie starts with Asterix and Obelix tracking Boar in a dappled forest. Obelix complains that Panacea barely notices him, and Asterix tells him maybe he's boar blind and needs to focus. Out of nowhere, Obelix pauses, sniffs the air, and growls, "Romans." They press against trees as hidden Roman scouts creep by. Asterix quickly gives Obelix a drop of magic potion. Seconds later, Obelix charges, lifting 2 Roman soldiers and tossing them high. The others scatter in panic. They share a triumphant grin and keep hunting. The potion's glow fading. Tension mounts. Cut to Imperial China. Deng Xianqin storms into the throne room, red-faced and barking orders at Princess Fu Yi. She stands defiant, hands on hips. He proposes marriage to gain legitimacy. She laughs, "You're not fit to rule this kingdom," and turns away. Deng's voice drops to a whisper, "We'll see." This scene instantly sets up their conflict and shows Deng's ruthlessness and Fu Yi's courage. Moonlight silhouettes Fu Yi and her entourage sneaking through palace gardens. Tat Han swings her sword and silently takes down 2 soldiers. Grandemaze fumbles with the coach reins, nearly attracting attention. Cue the thwack of a guard going down. They escape over the garden walls as palace alarms sound in the distance. Behind them, the Empress surrenders to Deng's guards, her face resolute, but strained with sorrow. Villagers swarm around Gidefix's cauldron. Asterix helps Gidefix test strength on a log lifting contest. Obelix arrives carrying a rescued boar carcass, his version of breakfast. Unhygienics yells in the background about stale fish. Across the clearing, Cacophonics sets up to sing, but villagers run with fingers in ears. Panacea giggles nearby. The scene is calm, comedic, warm, before we cut to drama. A dusty coach rolls into the village, stopping in front of the chief's house. The villagers gather. Fu Yi steps out with Tat Han and Grandemaze. She holds out a broken royal jade seal and says, "My mother has been taken. We need your help." A hush falls. Obelix whispers to Asterix, "China, really? That's far." Asterix ignores him and steps forward with conviction. This moment shifts the story from everyday life to epic. As the sun dips low on the horizon, casting an orange hue over the Gaulish village, Princess Fu Yi stands before the entire council of villagers, her voice steady, but her eyes glistening with desperation. She recounts the brutal uprising in her homeland, how her father the emperor died, and how her mother, the empress, now faces rebellion from within her own court. Vital statistics. The village chief strokes his thick red mustache, his expression skeptical. "China," he mutters under his breath. "Too far. Too dangerous. Too foreign." The other villagers nod, murmuring agreement. Even Gidefix, the wise druid, hesitates. They've never interfered in distant kingdoms' affairs. But Asterix, ever the brave and principled warrior, steps forward. He looks at Fu Yi, then at the villagers. "If we don't help the ones who come to us seeking refuge, then what's the point of our strength?" Obelix immediately chimes in, his massive arms crossed. "And if Asterix goes, then I go. After all, someone needs to keep him safe." Scene fades as Fu Yi offers a grateful bow, while Grandemaze raises an eyebrow at the close bond between her and Asterix. Back in Rome, inside a lavish chamber decorated with golden pillars and exotic silks, Julius Caesar lounges in luxury. Cleopatra stands before him, clearly unimpressed. "You speak of glory, Julius," she hisses, "but outside of Rome, no one even remembers your name." That jab hits deep. Caesar's pride is bruised. At that very moment, Ri Chi, Deng Xianqin's cunning advisor, arrives at court bearing extravagant Chinese gifts, scrolls of gold-threaded silk, rare gems, spices, and a proposition. "If you help Prince Deng conquer the Empress's loyal provinces," Ri Chi says with a sly grin, "China will belong to Rome." The temptation is too great. Caesar straightens in his chair, clenching his fist. "Prepare the legions. We march east." Cut back to Gaul. Asterix, Obelix, Fu Yi, Tat Han, and Grandemaze stand on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. The 5 board a small rowboat, hardly fit for travel, and begin rowing toward North Africa. As waves crash and days pass, Grandemaze turns to Asterix and casually drops a bomb. "Just so you know, I plan to marry Fu Yi once this is over." Asterix, clearly caught off guard, stares at him. "She's not a prize to be claimed," he replies. Tension brews. Obelix, in typical fashion, doesn't quite grasp the emotional nuance and mutters, "Why is everyone always falling in love except me?" After an arduous trek across the Egyptian desert, the gang finally reaches the ancient city of Clysma, present-day Suez. Exhausted and thirsty, they enter a bustling tavern. Just as Asterix orders food, a group of thuggish mercenaries recognize Fu Yi's royal robes and attempt to capture her. Without hesitation, Asterix downs a sip of the magic potion. Obelix doesn't need it. He fell in a vat as a baby. What follows is a blur of flying fists, shattered barrels, and men being flung through windows. Fu Yi watches in stunned awe as Obelix lifts a table with one hand and uses it as a shield. Outside, villagers cheer. Fu Yi finally understands. This magic is no myth. It's real, and it's powerful. As the group sails across the Red Sea aboard a tiny merchant ship piloted by the clumsy but lovable Titanics, the familiar silhouette of a pirate vessel appears on the horizon. It's the infamous Asymmetrix and his bumbling pirate crew. But this time, before Asterix can even reach for his potion, Tat Han calmly steps forward. "Let me," she says. With lightning speed and martial arts precision, she leaps onto the pirate ship solo. One by one, she takes down the entire crew with effortless grace. She knocks out asymmetrics with a single spinning kick, then dives back onto her own ship as the pirate boat catches fire and slowly sinks. Obelix watches in slack-jawed admiration. I think I'm in love. Far away, somewhere deep along the Silk Road, Caesar's legions are advancing. The camera sweeps across vast deserts, freezing mountain passes, and misty Mongolian plateaus. Soldiers trudge through harsh climates, exhausted but determined. Caesar rides ahead on a golden chariot, wrapped in imperial robes. His ego fuels the journey. He believes he's about to conquer the greatest empire of the East. Alongside him is his secret weapon, Caius Antivirus, a towering warrior with arms like tree trunks and a stare that could freeze lava. He remains silent for most of the trip, but when asked if he fears facing unknown Eastern armies, he cracks his neck and mutters, "They should fear me." As Asterix, Obelix, Fui, Grandames, and Tat Han journey deeper into Asia, tensions within the group reach a boiling point. At a quiet riverside camp, Asterix finally confronts Grandames. "What makes you think Fui feels the same about you?" he asks. Grandames, sharpening his blade, smirks. "She doesn't have to. Not yet." Fui, overhearing the argument, sighs. She sits beside Tat Han later that night and confides, "All this talk of marriage. I haven't even had time to breathe since I fled my home." Meanwhile, Obelix, still confused by emotions he can't name, plucks a flower and gives it to Tat Han. "For, protecting us and stuff." Tat Han simply smiles. The group finally arrives in China. Instead of a warm welcome, they're forced into hiding. Tat Han takes them to the outskirts of the Xian forest, to a crumbling temple surrounded by fog. There, her master Ban Han, a wise and reclusive strategist, waits. The moment he sees Fui, he bows deeply. "The Empire still breathes," he whispers. They light incense, and by candlelight, Fui tells them what they already feared. Her mother, the Empress, is being held hostage. She's set to be publicly executed in a matter of days by Deng and Caesar to solidify their alliance. Ban Han looks grim. "There's only one hope, Cuckoo Kingdom. If we can convince Prince Du Deng to rise, the rest of the loyalists will follow." Tat Han and Ban Han lead a covert raid on the old prison temple where the Empress is kept. Disguised as local monks, they slip through the shadows. The Empress is found chained but unbroken. Her eyes widen as she sees her daughter's warriors. In a swift and silent assault, they disarm the guards and escape under the cover of a fire set in the outer courtyard. Epidemius, who had been imprisoned beside the Empress, insists on staying behind to stall the guards and buy them time. "I've always wanted to be a hero," he grins. They flee into the bamboo-covered hills just before Caesar's soldiers arrive. While Tat Han and the Empress go into hiding, Asterix, Obelix, Fui, and Grandames make a desperate journey across the eastern plains to reach Cuckoo Kingdom. The moment they arrive at the royal court, they're met with suspicion. Cuckoo's guards surround them, and their weapons are taken. In the throne hall, Prince Du Deng finally appears, covered in an elaborate bamboo veil. Rumors had long claimed he was too hideous to show his face, but when he removes the mask, he has stunning golden hair, piercing eyes, and a royal aura that turns even Obelix into a stammering mess. Fui is visibly taken aback. Du Deng is as charming as he is noble, and the moment he hears the Empress has been captured, he bows and says, "For China, I will ride." Du Deng rallies 10,000 loyal soldiers. Asterix shares his flask of magic potion with Du Deng and Fui. "You'll need this more than I will." At dawn, the valley of Xianfu trembles with war cries. Caesar's army, 80,000 strong, lines up in phalanxes. Catapults roll forward. Caius Antivirus stands at the front, cracking his knuckles. On the other side, Du Deng's army holds their ground, flanked by Asterix, Obelix, and Fui. The charge begins. Asterix drinks the last drop of the potion, but an arrow strikes the flask and it shatters. Still, he fights. With Obelix guarding his back, they bulldoze through ranks of Roman soldiers. Du Deng, enhanced by the potion, cuts through enemy lines like lightning. But despite their bravery, Fui is captured. Just as Caesar raises his sword to order the execution, the hills rumble. From the east, an army even larger than Caesar's pours down the mountains. It's the Empress, in golden armor, leading every loyal province to war. The tide turns instantly. Caesar, realizing defeat, throws down his sword. Rome withdraws, he announces bitterly. The war is over. A grand celebration is held in the capital. Du Deng proposes to Fui, who happily accepts. Asterix watches from afar, smiling softly. Obelix, in an unexpected twist, turns his affection fully toward Tat Han. They share a quiet goodbye, and although she returns to China, she gives him a small carved token to remember her. Back in Gaul, the village throws a feast. Cacophonix starts to sing, and is promptly gagged, as usual. So don't forget to subscribe to Noobs Recapped, and click that bell icon so you never miss an upload.